Welcome to Israeli Adventures, the podcast that unveils the opulence and charm of the Holy Land. This is Beni Levin's podcast, your host and the proud owner of Luxury Experiential Travel. Join me as we explore the finest destinations and experiences that Israel has to offer. Get ready to indulge in the ultimate luxury escape.
Okay, so I'm actually very excited today because I have Erez, my new partner, and I would really love to really introduce our partnership in this wonderful adventure and creating trips that are really meaningful for people all around the world, but especially in Israel. In the upcoming year, 2025, renewing the connection to Israel. So Erez, how are you?
Great. What a great pleasure to start this partnership with you, starting it in 2025. It's a feeling, like we've been going through a rough year, but there's definitely a feeling like we are about to begin a new era. And what a nice way to start it with a new partner like yourself.
So this connection is actually really to introduce a little bit our partnership and what we are going to do together. And I want to ask you, Erez, like a little bit about your background. How did you become a tour guide? Like, did you been like all your life, love traveling, been to Boy Scouts? What's the story, Erez?
So it's actually a funny thing. I never thought I would be a tour guide. I was like a little spoiled kid from the Carmel, what we call in Hebrew Carmelist Matsui, like a local guy that is like rich. And we used to travel like 5 stars as a kid, going to boutique hotels and all of that. But it was actually really just after the army when I went on my big trip, and I went and I explored the world, and I kind of discovered myself that I had this vision that I want to be that local guy. I want to be that person who delivers an authentic experience for people who come to see my homeland. And, it was kind of a dream when I was there in Mexico, looking at the waves, but then it became real. I came back to Israel. I looked around and I said, wow, I want to be a tour guide. And one thing led to another, just like the best things in life, like you don't really make a plan and then all of a sudden it becomes real. And I became a tour guide. And this is like the beginning of all of that.
So, it's like unusual. Usually some people really know, like myself, I knew that I'm going to be in the world of traveling from very young age, from 14, 15. This
really?
was like, I didn't know that it's going to go there, but I was in a school that really in high school, at the end of the high school, we got our license to guide Israeli kids, Israeli schools. So not for international travelers, but Tav Teken. So I actually knew or was on that direction because of my high school. But I have a really interesting question for you. Erez, what do you love about guiding? What is the thing that is really taking you to that place that is your happy place? Because, we passed through COVID, we passed through a war, another war. It's like, it's not an easy place. Something is driving you. What is this thing?
So I'll tell you, I think there's 2 things that really drive me. One is I like stories. I like telling stories, and I like listening to stories. So I really like the people. I'm fascinated by people. I'm fascinated by people's stories, and I'm fascinated about how they react to the stories that I have to tell them. After a while of telling the same stories and learning new, I'm more fascinated about the stories that are actually coming from the clients that come here, from the people that I get to travel, and they're becoming like close friends of mine. So I'm passionate about getting to know people, getting to know what they believe in, getting to know how they live their lives, what makes them excited, and then being able to deliver some of those fantasies. This is one of the greatest things in the job.
So I think it's very interesting. What I find is like a travel agency owner, what is the really quality of an amazing tour guide? That he loves to put the glasses that have the vision or the view from the guest's perspective.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what, by the way, probably making you into this amazing tour guide that delivers really, really good experiences.
But I'll make a quick correction. We always, when we talk, you say, I don't have clients, I have family members. So I don't consider myself a tour guide. I'm a person that takes people on a journey. And when you take people on a journey, it's an opportunity for them to see the world, but most important, to discover themselves. And when they discover themselves and you have the privilege to be there next to them, then you're on a journey as well. And the journeys collide. And all of a sudden, that's become an epic experience for both of you.
And that's amazing. So what's your secret? How do you connect with your travelers, with your new family members that you become like literally 2-3 days into the trip? You're part of the family. You're the big brother, you're the uncle, you're the brother, that different mother, different father. How do you connect to people?
So I'll tell you, there's a Hebrew say that says, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you can listen double as much as you speak. And we love to talk, both of us, as people who facilitate experiences, but we have to listen. So I listen very carefully before they arrive to what they really want. When people come here first time, I know what they want, even if they don't know how to express it. But I think the place where both you and I really make a difference is when people coming back. And they've already been to certain places and they know, and it's about really listening carefully to what is going to make it special this time. And I can tell you, I had an experience with a family that they keep coming to Israel every year, and they spoke to me and they decided to book a tour with me. I'm not going to mention names, but if I did that, some name dropping, you would know, like, this is a family of some of the most important people in the advertising community in the United States of America. So, it was good publicity afterwards. And they told me something that really shocked me. They said, we spoke to 10 tour guides before we booked you. And I was like, really? Why? And they said, you were the first one who listened to us. Everybody told us what we need to do. You were the only one that said, this is what you want to do. We're going to do that, and we're even going to make it better. Because they know half of what exists, and you know the other half. And it's about making the connection between them. And when you are able to make that connection, people feel like they've been seen and heard. And when somebody really listens to you and somebody really sees you, then you feel a connection. You call it family, you call it friendship, you call it a good connection. And that's what makes it special about what I deliver.
So it's a trip that is about your guests, your new family to become. And if we are calling it that name, would you give me like an example of a moment? Like a moment that is memorable, that stays with you, maybe stayed with the travelers, something that can express a little bit what are the moments that are happening on trips like this, when the set of mind is really really about the people that are arriving. And when you come with this type of set of mind, some moments are really memorable. Do you have an example for me?
Yeah, there's one case that comes up to mind, and it's a good one because this family, they can afford everything. And there was one thing that they said to me, you do whatever you want. And there was one thing that they said, could you help us? The father is a conservative Jew. He puts the filling on every day. And he says, kids are looking at me differently because my wife, she's Christian, and, we're trying to teach them both cultures, but they don't understand what I'm doing. Can you do something that will help them understand what is this costume? So I looked around and I found in Tzfat this institution, what we call in Hebrew, Sofer Stam, where they really specialize in writing the Hebrew letters. And I took the family there and they experienced firsthand how to write ancient Hebrew.
Wow.
And how the cloth, the scroll that goes inside the filling box, how does it look like actually? How does it go inside? What makes it kosher? What makes it unkosher? What is really written there? Why is it so special? So when you get out of there, all of a sudden everybody said, okay, Daddy, now we know what you're doing every morning. You are connected, like we call it like the router to the heavens, right? So now we understand what is the software inside. And it was a very meaningful moment for them. And it even escalated afterwards when they said to me, Erez, you can pull us the Shabbat dinner, the best Shabbat dinner possible. So we orchestrated this beautiful venue that is situated just in front of the Wailing Wall. And they were sitting there. It was the last Friday, just after an epic tour, which was full with those little bits and pieces of like that tefillin experience that I mentioned before. And when the father spoke, he says, we've been everywhere. But this, beyond the fact that it was the best experience I've ever had, you made me want to be a better person. And that makes it infinite. When somebody tells you like,
Wow.
this experience, and it's not me, it's Israel. We help it. But there's something about this country that we just have to help. And it makes people want to be better people and make the world a better place. And I think that's the best compliment you can ever get by delivering an experience.
I think that's maybe the reason why we're so really connected in many ways, is because you look on a trip and you look on the family or the group that is coming. You want to understand each individual and what drives them, what excites them, what are their fears, what are the things that are really putting them a little bit in an uncomfort zone, or a little bit out of their comfort zone. I would not say uncomfort zone, because we try to keep it comfortable, but at the end, the magical moments are happening when you're doing something that you're not used to. And I think this is why we're connecting, because this is kind of a belief. And, along the years, we started guiding together. You remember Israeli schools.
Yeah.
And we were running around the hills and working with birthrights and running on the hills before we went on our individual way. But it's all started from education and trips that bringing extra meaning. So I actually want to ask you, what are the benefits that you see, the real benefits for your guests, for your clients, for your family members in a connection with Let Travel?
Yeah. So I think what is great about this connection is that we both mastered something, like we are both great guides. But I think if there's something that I learned so much from you, is the level of operational quality that you give to your clients. Like, you have such high standards that I wanted to say, like, okay, I want to bring these high standards to my guests, because that will help me raise my standards here in Israel, but not just in Israel, all around the world. Because, we know how to give good experiences. There's certain things that you can do only in Israel, but there's certain things you can, I don't want to say copy paste, because it's not about copy pasting. It's about taking the essence of what we do in Israel, giving somebody something that is fun, adventurous, and meaningful, and do it in different parts of the world. Like, you made these connections already with Portugal, with Greece, with Italy. And I see you online and I say, Beni, this guy is rocking it. And I say, I want to be a part of this, because sometimes people want to come to Israel and they want to experience that, but sometimes they want to do something different. Like we see now in the last year, people couldn't come here. We can deliver experiences elsewhere. So by this partnership, I'm not just opening the world to my family members. I'm opening a world to myself, because if you want to learn something, teach it. And if I get to show people other parts of the world, I'm going to learn something about myself that I'm going to take pleasure doing. So this partnership is for everybody makes a benefit, not just them.
It's working perfectly, because when you think about it, as creative people, we love to create the experiences. We love to sow those core values, those experiences that you can take and you can translate into transformation or a lesson that people can take, no matter where they travel. And the global history are amazing, and Jews were everywhere. So those Jewish connection to different locations around the world is almost like become an opening for my next question, because it's really changed, from October 7, 2023, something changed. So I want to ask you, how do you see traveling in 2025? What are the important moments that are really going to be taking place in 2025? Traveling to Israel, but also in general, Jewish travel around the world.
It's a great question, because I think what we do in Israel is something that people need to do all around the world. We don't just give traveling experiences. We give transformative traveling experiences. People that are coming to here, not just that person that I mentioned before, they are growing. They are becoming better people. And the world needs better people right now. Because obviously we all saw what happens. There's the old saying that says, the world is not going to go down because of bad people, but because of good people doing nothing. When you come to Israel, you come to connect with what is real. This is why it's called Israel. It's real. And what is real is that we need to make a change in this world. And when people are going to come here right now, it's not just going to the Holocaust Museum. It's not just one temple of evil that we all have to recognize that exists so we can eliminate it in the future. There are synagogues. There's branches of evil right now everywhere where you see a memorial of people that died in October 7 and afterwards. That reminds us that we need to do something about this. Israel has always been a beacon of light, showing that we have to fight evil. We have to hope for a better world. We have responsibility to make it happen. When people are coming to Israel, they connect to that vision. And I think when people are going to come to Israel in 2025, it's not just going to be inspiration. It's going to be transformation, and it's going to be a call to action to do something to make a world a better place. And what a better way to do that than a meaningful traveling experience that impacts you to make the world a better place.
Oh, I love it. It's like this need to be put on a big billboard, and really a great way and great sentence. I think we all went through looking inside, reprioritizing what we're doing in life and what is most important. And I think today we are getting back to this core, the family, the travel, that I want to travel the world by feeling that I'm hosted by a family. I'm not going to book a tour guide. I'm going to the backyard of Erez.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, why should people that traveled you before book a trip with you again now? How does the trips evolved? What are, new things that are you bringing now from past tours that you did, especially after October 7, but maybe not even connected, but I think because we had the chance now in the last year to really look inside and re-evolve everything we're doing. And now we have, your guest can literally travel to Israel, but they can travel to about 40 different destinations with this cooperation and with this partnership. So how did you evolve, and what are you bringing? What is the new things that are coming into this travel that people should be excited about?
So I will zoom you out even further. Let's not just go back to October 7. Let's go back to March 2020 when COVID happened. And a lot of us figured out that there's a lot to do around our house. There's actually a lot to do in the next 100 meters of our house. We keep discovering new things around us. And it's a lot about changing your mindset. Because if you can adopt the traveling mindset, that feeling that you have when you're on a good trip, that you are all relaxed, present, curious about the surrounding, and above all, that it's clear that you're there to have fun, then this is something that has changed dramatically people in their own places. Now, when you bring it to a professional like ourselves, now it's easier to explain why every time I go to Jerusalem, I find something new. It's 1 square kilometer, but I keep finding new venues, new places, new sites are being opened, some sites are being closed, some new sites are being repolished, or new videos are being broadcasted. Things keep growing, and we are always looking out for the best things. So if you want to see a country growing, if you want to see how things are developing, just like you enjoy watching your child growing, Israel is growing all the time. Things are changing. When you're coming back, you're going to experience something completely different. I can tell you, as a person that led people that came here for the 10 and the 20th times and kept being able to show them something new, this is a wow thing. Now, one of the other things that the people that come abroad don't know about us, we specialize also with working with Israelis. They live here, and we know how to excite them. So imagine you're coming from abroad, we are way ahead of you. So don't worry, we have something to show you. Plus, there's always good thing to go and visit the Wailing Wall one more time. Refine your prayer. It's again great to go to Tzfat, maybe find another meditation practice. It's great to go again to glamping in the desert. The desert of Israel is like nowhere else. There's nothing wrong about coming back to places. There's actually something great about returning.
Well, I love it. It's, I think this time of COVID and also partnering with you opened for us a lot of different things, because working with Israelis that I remember after COVID, we wanted to show Israelis the Israel they don't know, that we only kept for guests from outside of Israel. And that's all changed. So now this cooperation is really opening a lot of different new opportunities. My question for you is actually personal.
Mm-hmm.
What is a new destination or a new experience that you are excited about our partnership together?
So, life is about receptions from the heart. We have to be very attentive to the voices that come from inside of us. And there is an inner voice that says you have to go to Portugal. And when I saw some of the videos you sent me from traveling with that family in Portugal, the fact that my wife, she just now got her Portuguese citizenship when we have to pick up her passport, the fact that I heard about the Camino de Santiago, that special route that the Christians are going through. There's something about this place, and plus there's good waves over there. And I like surfing. So all of these are a great combination that show me that I want to go and visit Portugal. I want to go and visit Greece. There's something about the authenticity, about the vibration of the people. And in addition to that, the Jewish history of these places. I was in Rome a couple of years ago, and I did a tour through the ruins. And the guide, he says, when the Jewish slaves used to work on Saturday, they didn't work because this and that. And I was like, what? They didn't work on a Saturday, but they're slaves. And he was like, yeah, they didn't work. But how is it possible? They're slaves. Why they're not working on a Sabbath? So he says to me that during the time of the Hezbonites, they developed relationships with the Romans. And some representatives moved to Rome to develop business relationship. Now, they were so close to the Caesar that they were able to talk with them that after the temple was destroyed and slaves were sent into Rome, they said, they're slaves, that's fine, but they don't eat pork, and they don't work on Saturday. You got to respect that. So imagine the Caesar said, okay, they don't have to work on Saturday. And that just shows that there's something about the Jewish tradition that is making an impact around the world that I just want to explore it all because it's mind-blowing. Slaves don't work on Saturday because people have respect for one another.
And that's 2,200 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love Portugal. It's like, I don't know, something happened to me there probably about 9 years ago. I was there on a paragliding competition, and I broke my personal record, and I fell in love with the people. It's almost like a destination that is off the beaten track completely. It's like in Europe, but it's the closest to the US. It's have a great Jewish history, like really deep Jewish history. The Jewish influence there is on everything from architecture to food. But it's also a country that you have that feeling of exploring. Mm-hmm. You literally can go to a modern European country, but on the other hand, you arrive to places and you feel that it's completely new. Mm. Like one of the, just to give you an example, is 3 weeks ago I was in Portugal because, we're building a hotel there and we're driving. And after 3 days, suddenly my partner is screaming to the architect that driving the car, stop. We thought, I don't know, maybe too much food, too much wine or whatever. He's getting out of the car. He's picking up a can. He says, I didn't know to point my finger on something, but I didn't see a garbage for 3 days. So there is literally areas in Portugal where you don't see garbage. It's rare in the modern world. It's not like somewhere in Alaska or in remote Canada. It's literally in a country that is just there. Everything is so clean, so beautiful, a lot of it untouched. And I think I have last question for you, because it's probably the most important one. What is your personal philosophy for making a trip that will be meaningful? And maybe you use the word transformative. Mm-hmm. Like how you create, what is your philosophy, how you build a trip that is meaningful and transformative for people that coming to travel with you?
So I'll give you one interesting example. I remember when we were still guiding birthrights and other programs, I used to get this feedback from the providers on the sites saying, Erez, a lot of groups are coming, but your groups are different. There's a whole different energy around your group. What are you doing with them? And I said, I structure spiritual foundations to the tour from the beginning. I say we are all one. We're all responsible to make this experience successful. And it's how we love one another and how we translate love to daily actions throughout the experience that will make it the best experience possible. Now, this is something that I do on a group level, but on a personal level, I try to explain people, whether they're coming on a group or they're coming to me personally, in their own words, I explain it to them that life is a journey and you're the destination. And what you're going to be learning in Israel is how to face the big questions and actually talk about them. Because people, when you live in Berlin, don't ask you, what do you pray for? They don't ask you if you could innovate something that would change the world and not make money of it, but just make an impact. What would you do? People don't ask you that. Like, what do you most resonate with about, making the world a little bit better? People don't deal with those questions, even though they're curious about them. People don't ask one another, what do they really believe in? How does God interact with them in their daily life? And in Israel, you have the privilege to ask the big questions, even the controversial questions. For example, where's the promised land? If there's such a promised land, who is it promised to? Is there some form of chosen people? And I always like to summarize the experience by saying the whole world is one big promised land. And the chosen people are the people that choose to execute the promise. And when you give a spiritual structure, you give a personal touch to somebody, hey, life is a journey. You are the destination. Your connection, your innovation is something that is going to make the needle tick a little bit. Then you connect them with a bigger way of thought. And when you raise the controversial questions and you have them talk about them a little bit, you inspire them to go back to their countries and talk about it with their friends and their families. And this is how you have the ripple effect. Because imagine what would happen if in one single moment people around the world will stop being selfless and care about meaningful, real knowledge. Like, imagine what we could do. Like, this is the challenge of our time, and it may seem like it's impossible because there's so much shallowness around the world. But when we know history, we understand that this process started a long time ago. It's like brick above brick above brick. This is history, like generation above generation. We're becoming smarter. We're becoming better. So the more we connect people to this vision, the more we connect people to themselves, and the more we connect people to the idea that we can actually do it, this is what makes me passionate about this life. And that's my philosophy. Live life with passion to make it the best life possible for you, the world, for yourself, and for all global consciousness.
Wow. Listen, this is exciting.
It is.
I'm excited for your guests to come and travel with us
to
different places and different destinations.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I actually wanted to ask you that even before. You were talking about stopping in Portugal and seeing that little piece of trash. Every country has a different culture, have a different way of doing things. And I know you, but I want my people, when they're going to come here, please explain, how do you feel so confident about now taking your skills and operating tours in other places around the world where you didn't grow up there, you don't know everybody? Like, how do you feel so confident about operating a tour in Portugal right now?
So try to think that I build a company that one of the ideas of this company is personal relationship. You've been mentioning different things that it's about the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the most important things that I believe in is that experience all around the world is a combination of culture, of some kind of a journey and pushing yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone in different levels, physical, mental, perspective. It's a perfect fertile ground to have a journey and not a trip or a vacation where you lay down on your resort and you don't even communicate. And communication with the local people. I want Erez to be able to take people to his backyard. And we have those people all around the world. First of all, Israelis are really adventurous in many ways, and a lot of Israelis are starting after the army, their life by traveling a big trip around the world. And that's how we suddenly have a huge bank of people that's spending months, maybe even a year, in different destinations. And they're not only going to the most touristy places, because they're doing and practicing what I call slow travel. So now this knowledge is piling up. Also for me personally, most of the destinations we are practicing and serving are really places that I spent personally at least 2-3 months in those destinations in my lifetime, and made the right connection with the people that can extend those circles. I think the most important is here. Because when you practice it here and you understand the concept, okay, of how you give a good service, and a good service starts from the guests that are arriving, writing an email and saying, hey, I heard about you from here or from there, and we're starting a journey to get to know them. Mm-hmm. This journey to get to know them is what's the most important. When we know the person, we know what can fit for them on the ground. And we do it. We really spend a lot of time on it. We are sending a questionnaire. We are getting on a Zoom call. We understand the level of service that they're looking for. And then we start to sow these personalized meetings with the locals. And probably the best example, because when we started operating outside, like in Portugal, but Portugal I spent over a year, so it's not a good example. But let's say when we started operating in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. So how do you operate in Costa Rica for somebody that didn't been? And I want to give an example. Mm-hmm. When we started, the first destination we started with was Italy. Mm-hmm. Okay? And one of the first times that I brought guests were on a tour where a lot of different small travel agents could bring 2 guests, and we've been hosted by the Ministry of Tourism of Italy. So each one of the travel agents with their 2 guests had a personal private tour guide. Mm-hmm. And I already been operating in Italy, and I was trying to teach the tour guides, the local Italian tour guides, how to have a little bit of the Israeli chutzpah. And let me explain the Israeli chutzpah. So we're finishing this beautiful, in the middle of the forest, we're sitting and having a cooking class in a beautiful castle, almost like a castle surrounded by a private forest. It's happening in Piemonte, is the northern part of Italy, closer to the border with France. And the mama is teaching us how to make ravioli. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk to the grandpa. And while we're speaking to the grandpa, I realized that he actually have a private basement where he makes his own grappa and his own sausages. So I'm like, oh, would you show it to the people, to the group? He's like, of course I will. Now, I'm the visitor from the outside. We have 8 tour guides that didn't thought that can be interesting for somebody to see the process. It's not part of the experience. So the cooking class is amazing by itself. Don't get me wrong. But then suddenly we're going down and we are there and we're drinking grappa and everybody getting drunk and we're eating the ravioli and we're cutting the different sausages. One is from wild boar and one is from like the goats and one is from the beef that they're growing. Great evening, and it's not the end. So now at the end, we're driving down. My tour guide is Israeli so we have the local guide, the Italian guide, and the Israeli tour guide. His name is also Beni. And he was on MasterChef. He's like a really expert to Italy. And we're driving down and I'm sitting, I had a great night and I'm looking outside of the window and we're driving through this private forest and I see a green light. I'm like, what is this green light? Wow, I was drinking too much. But then I hear Beni saying to our tour guide, Italian local tour guide, he says, blah, 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 and then he stops and we're the first one in line. So 8 cars with other 8 tour guides, with other 8 travel agents passing by. Beni is going out. I'm like, oh, he probably had a drink. He need to pee. But then I hear from outside from the window, he's like, blah, 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 blah. And somebody is answering him. Then he opens the door and he tells me and our 2 guests, do you want to go truffle hunting? And we're like, hell yeah, bring it on. And then we're finding ourselves, like literally everybody could stop. Now we having this truffle hunting and those hunters are teaching us how they find the truffles with the dog. And then at the end, we're buying those truffles. And in the morning, when I'm coming into the dining hall, the smell is so strong. And then Beni and our guests, literally like friends that came to explore this area to say if it's worth to explore on our trips, coming out with omelets with fresh truffles for everyone in the hotel.
Wow.
They wearing these chef hats. They're like, those truffle omelets brought to you by Let Travel. And everybody looking on us, where did you like, we went truffle hunting. Wait, when? On the way back, we saw hunters, we stopped, we went there. So this is what's unique. We use Israeli tour guides. They have a little bit of Israeli chutzpah. They know the local language. We use in specific locations, we use the local guides because you cannot exchange that. But we have somebody that understands how to build an experience. And I can go on and on and on. Costa Rica, so we had a vehicle that we're driving and they had these special fruits that are, sold on the side of the road that are not grown on farms, but grown in the jungles. And the guide is stopping and picking them up, and he's literally teaching them how to eat those different fruits that people never tried before. Something that to teach a local guide to do that, when you see something that for you is so normal, this is what's most important and what's most interesting for our guests. They want to see local because, it's luxury experiential travel. Those people been traveling the world, seen everything, stayed in the best hotels, swim in the nicest pools. Sometimes their house back at home, is like to build a hotel. So we have different guests, not always, but we are looking for luxury in the experiences. And that's need to be authentic. It's need to be pushing you a little bit to do something you didn't do before. And I think that's what gives us the confidence. And the knowledge, the head of my international department, Moshe, he's guiding for 30 years around the world. He had their own company. Before that, was taking people to almost 50 different destinations. We decided to open now 35 and have another 7 coming up. So very exciting for your guests and for you also as a tour guide. Like you said, we as tour guides, we can come to any place, understand the concept and the excitement, to study the history. And then in some specific places, we meet the most interesting local people that can expose us to places that are usually locked and closed and are not on the travel menu. Not all of them, because everybody wants to go and visit Lisbon or, get on a train that goes, the tram that goes up in Lisbon. You have to. It's part of the experience. Have a rooftop sunset, or go for a surfing class. This is everybody do. What do we do and how do we find the extras? This is personal relationship and connecting to people that living there and understand us, that have the same mentality, and it's unbeatable. It's literally unbeatable.
So I'll tell you what's nice about what you're saying, because people tend to miss that. And they think, he just found by chance somebody who is truffle hunting. It didn't happen by chance. It's due to professionality and being open to new experiences and surprises that you were able to give both a professional experience and a surprising experience. And that's what I like about you. You know how to build a system of things that actually work. And that leads me to the next question, because you found a formula, and this is something that you convinced me to do, about how to expand your brand, how to make it more visible, how to keep in touch with your clients. And this is something that we've started doing. So maybe you can tell a little bit more about what you've shown me for the past 2 months, that because of that, people start seeing more emails from me, they get more newsletters or updates. What is it that you found out that help brands grow, make them more visible, and make people want to come more and experience more of what those brands have to offer?
I love this question. So, basically we have a great team here, a little bit in the States, in some of the destinations. We have mobile people that are moving around. For me, when you look on scaling up a travel business, You want to serve more people. And I think, first of all, it's coming from why. Some people just don't want the headache. They just say, okay, let's just not deal with it at all. I'm a tour guide. I want to have great word of mouth. I can charge higher prices. This is great. But at the end, we own, I feel personally, and that's how we connect, is that it's our journey. It's our why is to really connect people to the land, connect them to their heritage, connect them to new experiences, and through that, explore themselves, become a better version of themselves. And as a Russian, that everything is like moving in pieces, I think for me was the easiest way was to go and really create these personal brands. I think people that traveled with you, know you, connect with you, and you love them. You talk about them like they are your family. Mm-hmm. And we are a family company. So when I want to expand, I have two options. One is to go big advertising, get connected with big corporate companies, or keep that spark. We want to keep that spark because that's what I want to grow personally. And that's by how? Not by hiding your brand. I want Erez to be in front. Your brand is what Erez is doing. My job is to free you from all the things that you're not good at or you're not getting to do like normally and in the day-to-day life, like writing a newsletter. Why? Because at the end, you're creative. You're the spiritual person. You're the person that's standing in front. You're creating and sewing those experiences. I have an amazing team in the office that literally took that connection with our guests to an art level. First of all, we're there. We have a process. We have a system. So first of all, we're sending newsletters because people need to remember that we exist and we want to show them what we're doing. For example, in the last year, when people didn't come to travel to Israel, we started to offer other destinations. Like never in my newsletters we mentioned any other destination. Suddenly it's very important because we're looking on this concept to have a Jewish component to the travel to any destination you go. So your question is, I would say, a complicated one, but what we created, we brought your brand that have your spirit, your ideas, your literally experiential ideas, and we put it into a system from newsletters to the way that we work. Like a person that is coming in now to speak to Erez is meeting with our dream creators. We call them, experience makers. Mm-hmm. The people that really, at the end, putting in front the guests, the family. Your family is coming to travel for another time. We treat them like our family because now we have an extended family. I have a brother. So everybody that is your family is my uncles / nephews, mm-hmm. whatever are the relationship. Yeah. But they coming into a really built up system. They meet with the professional. They get an interview on Zoom. We want to meet the face. We want to see how we want to feel the people because the success, most of the time when a new guest coming, and they sometimes know what they want to do, sometimes don't, but we want to understand who they are. Because their trip, and they have maybe a wish list, but we get on Zoom, we get to feel them. That's not enough. We send them a questionnaire. If they have kids or grandparents, we send a questionnaire to everyone because we want to understand everybody's dream. Because when you sew an experience, you can find something that every person will feel that there is something inside for them. And that's not enough. Because then we're building the first draft itinerary Erez, and we put inside 60%. We have a brainstorming in the office together with you, together with the operational team, because we sometimes forget that our dreams are not possible, even that we don't have anything that is not possible. We just need to figure out how to make it possible.
Or we forget that if we would work together, we can make visions come true.
Exactly. And then we send the first draft itinerary. And the first draft itinerary, we really put about 60% of what we feel that from our experience with that guest or that family, we understand from the questionnaire, from the Zoom, we put in 60% of what we really think will fit for them, and then 40% we hide inside. The little things. If somebody say I'm foodie, I want to understand if they are foodie to go and eat in a nice restaurant. Are they foodie to go and explore the street foods? Are they foodie to have a cooking class? Or are they foodie to go to a Michelin star chef into their private house and have a private meal in their backyard? That's the idea. We want to hide different things and different experiences to see what people and how they react. So it's a process. We have a built-in process with the years. I love to be very analytic. We give service from the beginning, from pre-trip, and then through the entire part, we have it sections. People sometimes come to us and say, hey, let's book a hotel. Say, wait, let's build a skeleton, understand, do you love to move out of a hotel or you want to have more of a star concept, that I don't want to change more than 2 or 3 times the hotel. So we get to that by building a skeleton structure of the trip, and then we book the hotels, the best options. In some places, we offer some hotels that are touching a little bit different stay. And it's all systematic. Why systematic? Because I can offer. I want the guest on the other side to have the choice. They need to choose how they want to look on it. We can explain what is the benefits from each one of them in your personal spirit. Because if I stay in a big hotel, that's great. But if I stay in a kibbutz in the north and we have a host, maybe the level is not 5+ stars. It's not the Satai. It's not the 6 senses. But being there with Shlomit that is hosting you and she bringing in the morning her fresh, olive spread from their fields, that's making a completely different experience, but people need to be ready for it. So we offer them, and then they know the choices. One of your favorites is to create a glamping site in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
So some people come and say, hey, glamping, that's cost like 5 rooms for 3 nights in the most expensive hotel in Israel.
True.
So then we say, hey, you want that experiences? This type of experience, being outdoor with your family in a place that don't have reception, Erez, and then all the kids don't even have a chance to look on their phone. And then I know you creating a list of questions and you give an instruction to the family members what to ask their kids. Suddenly they have a conversation.
Yeah.
We can do it without spending, 3 nights in the most luxury hotel, because this glamping can go for at least 1 night for a little bit more closer to camping. Still maybe with nice mattresses, a nice food that is cooked on the fire, and bring everybody around that fire is exactly that core. Building relationship, creating connections, and effect, and have an emotional fingerprint that goes back home. The destination is them, exactly like you say.
Yeah. איך אנחנו מבחינת הזמנים? נראה לי אנחנו צריכים עוד שאלה אחת.
אנחנו סבבה, בוא נסיים אם אתה רוצה.
לדעתי נראה לי עוד שאלה אחת שהיא חשובה פה. זה ממה אתה מתרגש מהשותפות בינינו, ואז אני אגיד עוד איזה משהו אחרון על זה, ונראה לי שזה מספיק.
מעולה, יאללה, מעולה.
So what are you most excited about our partnership?
The truth is, Erez, I think we started a little like step by step, and now it's become a full partnership. I feel that you are that creative person that is not giving up on mediocre, is not giving up on good, is not giving up on amazing, is looking always for the next level. And I think for me, this is most exciting. I love to build everything into systems and make sure that the service is good and everybody is followed and they get added value along the entire service. But your dreams and your ideas are what's excite me. It's like, I think this is that connection that brings another flavor to my company. And from this partnership, we both benefit, because we get more creative ideas, we deep our relationship, we do a better good, we give more and more people to have an experience of a lifetime. And I think it's almost like dripping, like we started by maybe creating more opportunities for your guest, but I already can see how your spirit affecting everything we're doing. Like, stay tuned for our Tiul Mitzvah project in a different conversation. But I think this is what excites me the most, Erez, working with you in this way.
Yeah, I feel the same. I think like we have parallel journeys. We both started as tour guides. You started working with communities and federations. I went to the corporates, and now we're bringing them both together because we know that both the federations and the donors want what the corporates and the executives want. They want to have a meaningful experience. And I think with the way you are connecting me to the ground and you're rooting everything, with great systems, I can fly even higher. Because it's just like you mentioned before, if you have a good trip, you can stop along the way and pick up the truffles. So I'm going to really hope that we're going to pick those truffles together and bring everybody to the dining room.
Sounds good. Excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to Israeli Adventures. I hope you had a blast exploring the luxury vacation scene here in Israel. Stay adventurous, keep embracing the fun, and let your wanderlust lead you to extraordinary experiences. See you next time for more fantastic escapades, safe travels, and endless joy to all our awesome listeners from Beni Levin.